and welcome to Coffee Break Blogging, where you'll learn to grow and monetize your blog in short, tactical installments you can use right away. Now here's the next episode in our series. Hello and welcome back to another installment of Coffee Break Blogging, where this isn't just another podcast, it's a full course on building an online business based around blogging from scratch. My name again is David Risley, and if you want to catch up with us from the beginning, head on over to coffeebreakblogging.com to view the full archives. So first of all, I want to welcome you to 2016. This is the first episode of Coffee Break for 2016. I took a few weeks off for the holidays, Christmas, New Year's, spent a lot of time not in my office. And then last week, it was just kind of an interesting week, getting back into the groove in terms of business, but then there was some personal stuff going on, not bad. In fact, very good. We actually purchased another RV for the family. Not that that matters very much to you, but it's a little time consuming on my part. And it did have something to do with why I didn't release a couple of podcast episodes last week and kick off 2016 earlier. The new RV is definitely a huge improvement over the one we had before. And if sometimes we travel and I do business from there, not like actual business. It's an online business, so I can run it from anywhere. So sometimes when we're traveling the country, I can just run the business right from there. It's a lot of good times. It's just one of the things that define me is I love to go out and do that kind of thing. Anyway, enough about that. What I would like to do now is we're going to jump right into our topic here. And this is going to be the topic that we're going to talk about for the next few episodes. And it's about conversion triggers. And basically, we're going to be talking about how to sell. Now, in order to sell something, you need to know what makes people tick and how to drive them to take action. That's just basic sales 101, is you kind of have to know what makes people tick, what motivates them to do things. Because those are the kinds of things that you're going to have to use when it comes to getting people to take action on the things that you want them to do, whether it be to opt into your list or ultimately to buy something on your business. Now, in this section of our course at Coffee Break Blogging, where we are talking about monetization and how to make sales. So we need to talk about this topic. And that's why we're going to be talking about right now. These conversion triggers are certain things that take into account just the way that we tick. And because of that, the definition of the word trigger is something that you pull or you push or whatever, and it gets a certain action out of people. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. Now, it's not manipulative because we all kind of react to the same stuff. And not only that, you should always only be using these types of things to sell something that is truly in somebody's best interest. The moment that you're not doing this in somebody's best interest is the moment you turn into a scam and a shyster, and I'm not here to help you if that's what you're looking to do. But sales is sales, marketing is marketing. We have to motivate people to take action on the solutions that we provide. Otherwise, we can't do what it is that we do. And that's why we need to talk about these conversion triggers, things that will trigger your prospect to convert, which is basically means they're going to turn into a customer. They're going to buy from you. So we're going to talk about a few of these conversion triggers today. And then we'll talk about more in the next 1 or 2 episodes, okay? First one I want to talk about, and this is just basic 101 level marketing, and that is that we all have a basic human nature to move away from pain and toward pleasure. Now, this is something that I want you to really understand deep down when it comes to making sales and ultimately convincing somebody to give your solution a try. This is something that's hardwired into all of us at the genetic level. I mean, it is just deep down. We all have that thing where we want to avoid pain and seek pleasure, even down to the cellular level. Every single cell of your body has this as a basic drive, okay? Basic mode of survival, as it were. And that that mode of seeking survival is done by avoidance of pain and moving toward pleasure. And the amount of pleasure that you experience is a direct measure of the quality of your survival. When I say the word survival, I'm not talking about bare minimum, you're just barely getting by. It's a varying scale. And it could be, on one end, it could be you're barely getting by, but you're still alive. But on the other hand, it could be truly flourishing in your life. And that would be also survival, just at a much higher level. Okay, so we all have this as a basic human desire. And you need to ask yourself, how is your offer going to move that person toward pleasure and also allow them to avoid pain? We need to take into account this natural inclination that we all have, and we need to map our offer, map our product into that so that our product actually is doing what it is that we're all trying to do all the time, and that is seek more pleasure, higher levels of survival, and avoid pain. Now, in the past here on Coffee Break Blogging, I've referred to this as the transformation. The transformation is that traveling from point A to point B kind of a deal. It's like you've got the before and then you've got the after. Well, within that context of the transformation, you essentially are moving away from some point of pain. Now, it might not be literal pain, but it could be mental pain, and the fact that you even if it's just something that you want that's not fulfilled, there's a certain element of pain involved. We're not talking here about it has to be like you're about to die or anything like that, okay? So this is all in context with your market, but what is that pain? And then the point B, end of the transformation, is where the person has moved more toward pleasure, a higher attainment of a higher quality of survival in the context of whatever it is that you're providing. Even if you're in a hobby market, just the accomplishment of that end goal where they've got this thing built or they acquired another thing that enables them to perform their hobby better, that is another movement toward pleasure for them, a higher attainment of survival for them, okay? So, how are we going to associate this pain and pleasure to our prospect? That's something that you need to know about your market. This is the kind of thing that you need to go out and have conversations with people and always be having a lot of involvement with the people that you intend to sell to, because you need to know what is it that they associate with pleasure? What is it that they associate with pain? It varies person by person, and you need to know this. For example, if you were in the fitness market, and especially if you're dealing with people that are really into fitness, like they're doing marathons and stuff like that, these people might associate things like muscle burn and physical exhaustion with pleasure. They actually like that stuff because to them, that's like a sign that they have been moving and they're exercising and, that type of thing. If you go to me, if my muscles are burned and I'm physically exhausted, that's not fun for me. But, for somebody who's much more into fitness than I am, that could be pleasure for them. And so if you were, selling a fitness product to people who are really into the gym and they're in there all the time, talking about things like feel the burn and that type of thing might be a whole different thing for them. Whereas you tell that to me and I'm going to be like, well, that sucks. I don't want to feel any burn. You know what I mean? So you have to really understand your prospect and what images do they associate with pleasure and pain? What feelings do they associate with pleasure and pain? And you can only arrive at this through actually talking with people and finding out, what does success look like for them? What does pain look like for them? What does it feel like for them on both ends of that equation? Now, your marketing, and this is primarily your sales messages and also your content. Your main goal is to move them as close as you can to the endpoint of this transformation before you ask for money. Okay? Because when you do that, when you give people these wins, and they're going to associate you with the pleasure that they get from the results produced. You understand? We all have this natural thing to avoid pain and seek pleasure. Now, your most effective marketing is going to be something that actually gives them that result. They're not necessarily going to get the entire transformation here, but if you can give them pleasure and or avoid pain, and you do that by way of your blog content, by way of your sales messaging itself, they're going to associate you with that, okay? And that makes it a lot easier to then sell them the rest of the solution to complete the transformation, okay? Now, sometimes avoidance of pain can actually be a stronger motivator. In many cases, it actually is. Some people have called this the negativity bias. And so you need to look at what it is that you are offering and look at what would be the stronger motivator to market against, so to speak. Is it going to be pain or is it going to be pleasure? Some really obvious examples of this would be that if you're in the health market, you're helping people alleviate some kind of a body problem that's annoying the hell out of them. Well, that you're probably going to be using avoidance of pain as your primary market driver. You're going to really get them into how that condition is affecting their lives and the things that it makes them feel like physically. It's pain. And then you're going to be presenting the solution as a way to move out of that. And so you're going to find that pain is going to be the stronger motivator there. Another one that comes to the top of my mind would be the whole prepping market, the prepper space or survivalist market. Really big market right now. People that are out there fearing, economic collapse and all these various things. Well, that's a very fear-based market. They will go out there and spend tons of money prepping for the avoidance of pain that's going to come with an economic collapse. And so these are prime examples. Now, you got other ones like the make money online space or the general make money space, however it is. You could see this one going either way. You get some people who go into the make money space as a way to avoid the pain of being broke and having debtors calling you and that type of thing. There's also the pleasure side of it, and where the typical stereotype is sitting on the beach, drinking your pina colada, that type of thing. And you got these images. For some people, the idea of sitting on the beach with a drink is not necessarily what's going to signify pleasure for them. Maybe for them, what's going to resonate better would be the idea of being able to not report to a 9 to 5, not have the alarm wake you up at 6 a.m, being able to spend more time with your children. So you need to know your market. You need to know what makes them tick so that you can present those images to them that represent one side or the other. Now, another market off the top of my head that would be more toward the pleasure side of it would be like an Apple product, like an iPad or something like that. I mean, these guys, what kind of fear or pain are you avoiding by buying a new iPad? Well, none. I mean, it's basically a pleasure-seeking device. That's really it. So you're going to find Apple uses that in how they market the iPad. Okay? So to sum all this up again, is that avoidance of pain and an attainment of pleasure, moving the person toward a higher level of survival. And again, in the context of whatever it is that you are offering, whatever you're talking about. And you need to know this so that when you write your sales message or you present it on a video, you orient your product to them in those terms. It's not just about my product has 5 videos and it contains 4 hours. I mean, nobody cares about those types of feature-based things. You need to talk about your product in the context of how it's going to move them away from pain and toward this pleasure that they want. Okay? All right, so that was a lot of talk about just the first conversion trigger, but it was a very core point. I want to move into another one. This one is actually shorter, but also important, and that is the idea of novelty or newness. And yes, that's just a word that I invented. Newness. How new is something? Okay? So here's the thing. When it comes to this, there's that possibility of reward, a potential of pleasure. You could look at it as a pleasure potential measurement of your product and a resulting curiosity as to what that pleasure is going to be and what it's going to feel like. And a prime example going back to Apple would be how they release new iPhones every single year. Is the phone really that different than the year before? Not really, but yet every single time Apple releases a new iPhone, you have hundreds of thousands of people out there buying it, even though the phone that they have in their hand already is just one generation old. The reason that they're doing that is because of the possibility of reward or the possibility of pleasure of the new device. They'll watch the Apple launch presentation. They're like, ooh, and they wonder how that's going to affect their lives, and then they want it. And there's also the idea of status, which is something we'll be talking about later. But this is how Apple does it. They don't need to release a new phone every year. They're only doing it because it props up their sales and it allows them to have that idea of novelty and keeping things fresh and new. Now, how you can apply this to your business is very simple. You need to make new offers to your audience on a somewhat regular basis. Create new courses, new products. Even if you're in the service business, what can you do to create new offers for them? What can you issue as a product update or a tweak, a version, give them a next incremental version, especially if it's software. This works beautifully. Release a new version of your software that has certain new features on it. These are things that allow you to then go to them and present this thing with the idea of newness being one of the big things that it's going to attract them to it. Now, this can work really well when you combine it with scarcity, which we'll be talking about a little bit later as well. Probably not in this episode because I don't want to get too long today. But scarcity is a really big trigger. If people feel like they're about to lose out on something, this is why you see deadlines work so well. Well, you combine that with the fact that it's new. Like, here's this new update, this new version of this course, but you've got to get it in the next week. Otherwise, you're going to miss out. You combine those two things together, and you're definitely going to drive sales. Okay? Let's talk about one more conversion trigger, and then we'll end off today because I don't want these coffee break episodes to get too long right out the gate. This third one is called simply the reason why. Very simple. People are kind of hardwired to want to know the backstory for something. Why is that the case? People look for meaning in things even when there really isn't any meaning. And because we have this desire to know the reason or the meaning for something, sometimes it helps if you simply give it to them, even if it really doesn't matter. Okay? And so, for example, if you think about if you're going to offer a sale or a coupon code or a discount or something like that, tell your people why you're doing it. One example that comes to me off the top of my head is Jeff Walker, the guy behind the Product Launch Formula. He has a story of how I think it was just a simple discount sale. He ran a discount, and his reason was because he needed to pay the IRS his taxes. So he said basically came out with a discount, and it was like his tax sale in order to generate revenue and pay the tax bill that he didn't see coming. Well, that gives his prospects a reason why. They're like, oh, okay, well, let's see if this deal makes any sense for me. But now they're not wondering why that sale exists. If you are offering like a free consulting call, maybe you're a coach and you offer that free strategy session that a lot of coaches do, tell them why you're doing it. You know that you're doing it for leads. They are probably smart enough to know that you're doing it for leads too, but you want to give them a reason and don't make them guess, okay? Because they want to know the reason why. Why are you offering to hop on the phone with them for free? Tell them the reason why. You're probably going to see an increase in your conversion rate on getting people onto that call, okay? Always answer that question too of why should they care? Okay? Because that's a really good reason why. It's not always just the reason of why you are doing something. You can also answer the reason why on why should they give a crap. And that's a good reason why too. If you put a product out there and they're like, oh, another product, I've seen tons of these things. If you give them a reason why it is that product is relevant to them, then it's going to connect a lot better than if it's just sitting out there. Okay? All right, so today we've talked about 3 conversion triggers of many that we'll be talking about here. The big one, this is a big concept, is the avoidance of pain and the attainment of pleasure, a higher level of survival. And the more that you can equate your product offer with that, the better. The second one was the idea of novelty and newness, and giving them that pleasure potential of a product update. Those kinds of things can work out really well because we all want to have more pleasure, but when you can combine that with that curiosity of exactly what that pleasure is going to be, then that can work out really well for conversion. And thirdly is providing the reason why, giving people the backstory of why you are doing something, why you chose to present a certain offer to them, or because it could go either way, why should this thing matter to them? Why does it matter to your prospect? Okay? With that being said, we will continue on this topic of conversion triggers in the next episode. I would like to end off by reminding you again, for the first time in 2016, about the Blog Monetization Lab. We had a lot of people join the lab over the last few weeks with the holidays and into the new year. The community is hopping in there. People were working on their businesses and getting things done. I saw a new membership site launch in there. I think it was actually a transition. Seen some front-end offers and that came out from members, and this was all during the holiday break. So there's a lot going on in there, and you better believe that there's a lot happening in 2016. Inside the lab right now, I'm actually working on a brand new roadmap, which is going to be a full beginning to end walkthrough of starting the business from scratch. This Coffee Break podcast is essentially that, except that it's a lot more taped, a lot more buttoned up. My purpose here with this roadmap inside the Blog Monetization Lab is to remove all the questions as to what you should be doing and when, because I do find that some people get into the lab and there's that information overload is still there. And my job as an instructor is to deliver the transformation. And I put a lot of work into delivering that transformation. And so that's why I'm creating the new Roadmap 2.0. It's currently a work in progress, but it is live inside the Blog Monetization Lab now for you to follow along with that as I create it. If you want to learn more about this, head on over to blogmonetizationlab.com. And I'd love to see you inside the community. By the way, a quick little side note, I've just opened up the ability to enroll in the lab using PayPal. That did not exist in 2015. So new for 2016, I've decided to relent and open up PayPal. I had some back reasons why I wasn't using PayPal. It has to do with just they were kind of causing some weird customer support inquiries that were not of our causing, and it was kind of confusing some of my members. This was like probably a year and a half ago. So I was like, well, I need to listen to the feedback and try PayPal again, and I have. And so now you can enroll in the lab using PayPal as well. So anyway, head on over to blogmonetizationlab.com and learn more about that. And I will see you next time at Coffee Break Blogging, where we will continue talking about conversion triggers. See you then. Thanks for listening to this episode of Coffee Break Blogging. If you like what you heard here today, we have something awesome we'd love to send you. It's called the Blog Conversion Guide, and it has 9 tweaks you can make to your blog in order to increase your conversion rate to get more opt-ins and sales. As one of our listeners, we'd love to give you access to this guide absolutely free. You can get your copy right now by going to coffeebreakblogging.com. Again, go to coffeebreakblogging.com to get your copy, and we'll see you next time.